Thank you very much, Liam. It's my honor to be here and share my idea with you. We're talking about the nuclear issue, but when you're talking about what is the role of the NATO in the provided security, as we all know, the NATO establishment in the Cold War area and as an organizational structure and the perception, NATO is defended the Cold War area border. And today, when you're talking about defend the border, and I think we have to look at especially in the Middle East and what happened in the Middle East and what challenges to NATO coming from the Middle East. Today, really, the Syrian and Iraqi issue as a humanitarian disaster, and millions of the people, they are come to the lost we are coming to the lost young generation, and more than maybe 4 million people in that region, they live without any providing humanitarian aids. And under the 18 years, when you look at the child, under the 18 years, these young refugee people, they are hopeless. They live in this region without education, without home, without any feature. And these, if we are not provided to help these people, they be easily come under some radical groups, and they will be provided, or they will be make a threat to NATO members. And when you're talking about the defense capacity building of the government, I think the Middle East, when you look at the Middle East, we are without the government, we are without the state, but we are live in a community, and we have a traditional community in the Middle East. So when you're talking about a failed state, maybe 20 years we're talking about a failed state, but when you correctly call it these words, it's not to provide anything or not a meaning. The correct, we are come to the area of the failing nations. And when you're talking about the failing nation without live under any state and without live any protections and provided the violence against other nations and become a threat for international community. So we have to change, I think, the words. Word of failed state today is not a correct word. It's the right words, failed nations. So that the responsibility of the NATO, not just to protect the border, because the threat coming from the outside of border and also inside the borders. And when you look at the ISIS, we're talking about the ISIS or the Nusra or the Ahrar al-Sham. The member of the ISIS today is coming from the NATO members. And when you look at the Paris or from the western part of the NATO, the terrorists, when you're talking about terrorist groups and terrorist organizations, they are well established in the NATO members. And if the concept of the NATO protected the NATO borders, but a threat inside of the borders, so we have to discussing how the NATO can take a role to protect inside the border of the people, and inside of the border, to protect the NATO members people. And the role of the NATO, and all the time, we're talking about more than 16 years, to protect the state. But state, in the Middle East, when you're talking about the state is not like the Western countries. And state of the Middle East, unfortunately, they are related with one sectarial group, or they are related to one ethnical group, or they are strong relation with one ideology, and they are created a violence inside of the state. And if the NATO protected the state, it means NATO will be part of the violence, and NATO will be part of this instability. Because of when you look at as we can look at the example of the Saudi Arabia or Iraq or Syria, included the Egypt, state of the Middle East, included North Africa, they have a strong link with sectarial groups or with one ethnical group or one ideology. And so we are live instability inside the state. So until today, we all the time we are talking about the stability of the state in the political side, but stability of the people, and the people inside of the state, if there is stability and if they can reach their rights, included the political right, included language right, or the cultural right. So these states, it meaning they have a stability inside of the state. But unfortunately, in the Middle East, the state can't provide the security or stability inside of the people. So the threats coming from the people to people. And the role of the NATO, what will be the role of the NATO? The challenge is coming from inside the NATO to us. Yeah, and we are looking from the Middle East. Today, the threat coming from the member of the NATO to the Middle East, because of the NATO have to defend value of the NATO. What's the value of the NATO? When you're talking value of the NATO, the democracy is one of the democratic value, and the second, the human rights, and the law, equality of the people. And when you're talking to the more than 2 million refugees live in the Turkey, and as NATO members, they are not enough provided humanitarian aids to these people. And more than 1 million young people live without any work, any job, any school. And as I mentioned, we have more than 700 refugee child in the border of the Turkey, the refugee child. And none of them can have a right to reach this, to go into the school. So they live in the streets. And also their family, none of them have find a works, legal workings. And so this will create more violence and more threats. And these threats will be spilled over and they will be entered to the NATO members. And when we look at the humanitarian aid, we have as IMPR humanitarian, we have several community centers, women's center, and child center in the border of the Turkey. And we defend, first of all, you have to send humanitarian aid inside of Syria. If you are not protect these people inside Syria, Iraq, or Libya, these people will be tried to spill over the border and enter to the safe regions. And then, if you couldn't provide humanitarian aid inside the crisis region, you have to provide humanitarian aid in the border area. If you are not providing humanitarian aid in the border area, then these people will try to enter Western countries. But until today, as I say, the international community until today didn't take any responsibility to provide more humanitarian aid in the Turkey or any in the other crisis regions. And as we're talking about the Libya issue today because of the Mediterranean humanitarian issue, we have some argue about the Libya operation. For example, NATO have to preparing some projects during the invasion or during the start of the rebuilding security, and then after the security, what's the project of the NATO? For example, if before the start of military operations, NATO have to maybe share with the people or have to preparing what will be happen after the military operation. What's the aim of the NATO? Just to defeat one dictator? It's okay and it's acceptable, but NATO have to thinking what will be happen after to defeat the dictatorships, or what will be role of the NATO after the defeat of the dictatorships. Why the Libya is today suffering from these in civil war, and also why the people of the Libya today they are died in the Mediterranean Sea because of they haven't any projects, NATO haven't any projects. What they will do after the operation of the Libya? Just the attack to the Libya, the dictator, it's acceptable, as I say, but they have to preparing their plan after the operation, after the military operation. So that is the argue. NATO is decided to military operation, but when we come to take a responsibility, the NATO members, they are thinking like as a state, but we are a member of the NATO as a people, the young generation and other people. I think we have to have a right to vote for the policy of the NATO. Any of us in here, we haven't any rights to decide the NATO policy. NATO state members come together and they decided any operation or anything else. But as a people, we haven't any right to say any policy of the NATO. So like the European Union, the European Parliament today, they have a more rights on the NATO policy. Or the state, not NATO, but for the European Commission or new memberships. But for the NATO, the people haven't any right to decide it or to participate in any policy of the NATO. And we take a responsibility of when the crisis or when threat come to us in the Paris or in Berlin or in the other side, we are suffering from this policy. But on the other side, we haven't any rights to join the policy of the NATO. I think because of as I say, NATO establishment in the Cold War area, and still the structure of the NATO, and mentality of the NATO also, to like the Cold War area. But we are not in the Cold War area. We are in a new area. As I said, in the Middle East, we live without a border. What is the border of the Syria and Iraq? What is the border of the Turkey and Syria or Iraq? What is the border of the Lebanon and Syria? Today, the million of people living without the borders. And so the conflict split over all the Middle East region and included the North Africa. And if you want to defeat these new threats, we have to look at the different way. First of all, we have to thinking. This is ideologically split over the whole world. During the 14, maybe before that, we're talking about internationalism. But today, this radical mentality become internationalism. From the whole world, from China, from the Western country, people come here, participate in the fighting, then turn back their country, and created a threat for them. So NATO have to be a clear perspective of how we can defeat ideology of this radical group or this radical threat. The second one, we have to come a new concepts, how we can protect these young generation, because they are living, as I say, without a future. If you are not develop any concept for this young generation, it will be really a lost generation and will be more threat to the European or the NATO members. And the last issue, I think the people of the NATO members have to be participated to policy of the NATO. Thank you very much.